300 years after an incident called the Fall, Dr. Ido, a scientist, finds a cyborg in a junkyard in Iron City. Despite its condition, its brain is intact and is still alive, so Ido brings it home and repairs it. When the cyborg wakes up, she wonders at her new form. She gets up with legs and studies herself in the mirror with amazement. After this, the cyborg slowly comes down the stairs to observe the people that brought her back. Ido checks if there are any malfunctions on her, but she just says she's hungry. While Ido helps her peel an orange, she asks whether she knows Ido and if he knows who she is. She cries upon realizing that she doesn't have her memories, but Ido assures her that she'll recall her memories eventually. After this, Ido takes her outside, where she's awed by a city suspended in the air, Zalem. The cyborg asks if he has a name for her, so he calls her Alita. While Ido tours Alita around Iron City, he explains how people from everywhere arrived after the fall, but nobody from there is allowed to go to Zalem. Alita notices a sports show playing on TV called Motorball, but Ido tells her that it's not worth watching. When Ido leaves Alita alone after getting food, she shares her food with a stray dog. During this, she notices a wanted poster for a murderer who killed 6 women. A large police robot known as a Centurion arrives, but instead of stepping aside, Alita poses for fight, so Hugo pushes him to the other side. However, the dog is still in the Centurion's way, so Alita runs back to protect it. After this, Hugo commends her skills and realizes that she's a cyborg. When Ido returns, then he explains that Alita is new around the place. As Hugo leaves, Alita watches him even as Ido pulls her away. At night, someone attacks a woman from behind. On the other hand, Alita wakes up and notices Ido coming home with blood on his arm. The next morning, Alita watches Ido work and notices an injury on his arm. There, a cyborg patient says he's a victim of cyborg body part stealers. He also mentions the serial murderer, so Ido tells Alita to be careful. The next day, Ido's wife Chiron comes to meet him. Now, as both of them are divorced, so they live separately. Alita comes across Chiron. What she is surprised to see, Alita walks away. After this, Chiron meets with Dr. Ido and asks about Alita. Ido tells him that our daughter is no more in this world, so I have given her body to Alita. Chiron asks Ido to build a robot, so they can become Motorball champions, so she can save enough money to return to Zalem. Chiron says that Vector can take us there, but Ido refuses, because he's certain that there's no way back to Zalem. Meanwhile, Alita finds Hugo playing Motorball with friends, so he invites her to join. However, Alita struggles to keep up in the game and slams into a pole. When she tries scoring, Tanji knocks Alita down and steals the ball. Falling down makes Alita very angry. She stands up again and kicks Tanji's feet, due to which, Tanji falls down and Alita takes the ball from him, and scores a goal. Everyone is very happy to see Alita playing so well. Sometime later, Hugo takes Alita to his secret spot, where they view Zalem. He aspires to live there and points out that since Alita was found in the scrapyard, she must have come from Zalem. That night, Alita notices Ido going out, so she follows and sees Ido stalking a cloaked woman. He readies his weapon, so Alita jumps to stop him. However, Ido realizes it's a trap. When they get cornered by Grewishka and Romo, who recognizes Ido as a hunter warrior, Ido pushes Alita aside as he fights, but is immediately outnumbered when the cloaked woman, Nisiana, reveals herself to be an enemy. Ido tells Alita to run, but instead, she leaps at Romo and punches him to death. Nisiana reveals her cyborg body and swings her blades at Alita. Meanwhile, Ido attacks Grewishka but is no match against him. Instead, Grewishka slams Ido on the wall, and tells him to watch the fighting women. After rolling away from Nisiana's onslaught of attacks, Alita kicks her to the wall, bashing her head in. Grewishka then challenges her. Alita evades his fists and kicks him on the head. As she descends to land an axe kick, Alita sees a memory of herself in a battle where she's called 99. Alita's kick breaks Grewishka's arm, due to which, he escapes. After this, Ido claims the bounty on Nisiana, explaining that he uses the money to offer free repairs in the clinic. Alita confronts him about her memories, so Ido confesses that Alita's body and name belong to his deceased daughter. My daughter was wheelchair bound, so I built her a cyborg body. But my daughter Alita was killed by one of my crazed patients broke into the clinic, and it was the reason why Chiron left him. After the incident, Ido exacted vengeance, but he got no peace even after killing his daughter's murderer, so he registered as a hunter warrior. Ido reveals here that Alita's heart is powered by an antimatter micro-reactor that can power Iron City for years. Since the fall, the technology hasn't been made, so Ido concludes that Alita is over 300 years old. After this, we see Vector. He demands Chiron to make Motorball champions for him. Suddenly, Grewishka comes in by breaking the window and asks himself to be repaired. However, Chiron refuses to, but she reconsiders when he says Alita did it to him. The next day, Chiron notices that Grewishka is wired. Although Vector isn't interested in helping, his disposition changes when Grewishka speaks in the voice of Nova, a powerful scientist in Zalem. When Nova asks what happened to Grewishka, Vector and Chiron explain that Alita defeated him. Though perturbed how she has such force, Nova deduces that Alita's knowledge of the Panzer-cursed fighting techniques allowed her to do such damage. Nova orders Chiron to rebuild Grewishka, so he can bring Alita to him dead. Nova then transfers to Vector's body, and promises that he'll bring Chiron to Zalem if she pleases him. On the other hand, Ido and Alita discover that Grewishka is off the bounty list, so someone must be protecting him. Immediately, Alita insists on becoming a hunter-warrior to remember her past. Ido refuses to let her, so she runs away. Alita joins Hugo in a Motorball match, where he explains that a final champion of Motorball gets to go to Zalem. During the game, a player, Kainuba, and his weapon called grindcutters catch Chiron's attention. Suddenly, Tanji calls Hugo for an important matter, so they leave the match. When Kainuba goes outside later, two masked motorcyclists try to bring him down. Kainuba fights back, but more masked figures electrocute him before the assailant's truck arrives to pull him in. While the crew removes Kainuba's parts, Vector arrives to compliment their work. Hugo removes his mask, revealing himself and his friends as the masked assailants. Vector pays the crew and tells them to deliver the parts to Chiron. After this, Vector finishes off Kainuba. The next day, Hugo and his friends take Alita outside the city. They explain how the war wiped out everything outside Iron City, and all the sky cities fell after going against the United Republic of Mars, or URM. Only Zalem survived that war. They show her a sunken URM warship, hoping to trigger Alita's memory. Seeing this warship, Alita immediately recognizes it, and treads into the water to get inside. She's slowly crawling through the damaged ship. She rises from the water and reaches the command deck. She opens another room with a huge orb inside and instinctively navigates the control board. The orb then unveils an unused cyborg body. Alita brings that body to Ido, and asks him to replace her body with it, but Ido's refuses. Alita points out that the warship responded to her, so she believes she must have been a warrior. Ido finally reveals that she's a URM berserker, one of the most advanced cyborg weapons ever created, hence why he won't unite her with the body. Tearfully, Alita leaves. Still determined to find herself, Alita registers as a hunter-warrior. After this, Alita goes to a bar for bounty hunters with Hugo. Zappin notices her and warns that she'll be competing with them for kills. Alita is not swayed and instead asks the hunter-warriors for help in defeating Grewishka. The others merely laugh at the notion. Zappin then smugly offers to train Alita, but she declines training with someone who spends all his money on his face. Insulted, Zappin threatens her, but she just laughs. He grabs her, but she quickly smashes his head on a table. Zappin swings his blade at Alita, so she kicks him back. Alita turns to the hunter-warriors, saying she's not impressed by the so-called heroes of Iron City. She challenges everyone, and they must help her cause if she beats them. She kicks the hunters' drinks on their faces, instigating a brawl. When Alita is about to get hit, Hugo chases the enemy to help her. Ido arrives and tries to intervene. He threatens to stop repairing everyone for free, so everyone stops fighting. But suddenly, the newly repaired Grewishka arrives, and Hugo immediately notices the grindcutters on him. Nobody wants to fight Grewishka, because he doesn't have a bounty on his head. Grewishka here challenges Alita for a fight, so Alita also accepts her challenge and gets ready to fight. Grewishka attacks with his grindcutters, but Alita evades them. Grewishka makes a hole on the floor before jumping down and dares Alita to follow, so she does. Underground, Grewishka explains that their current spot is where he used to live and here he'll kill Alita. Alita jumps on Grewishka, and trying to kick off his arm, but he's sturdier than before. Using his new weapon, Grewishka continuously attacks Alita, but she survives each and every one of his attacks. Alita lands a kick which pushes Grewishka but gets a cut on her leg. Grewishka continues his onslaught, so Alita hides behind a pillar. Grewishka mentions that he was saved by the same person who shapes Alita's destiny, Nova. When she tries to attack him head-on, Grewishka manages to cut Alita's body into pieces. Suddenly, she sees another memory, where her martial instructor Gelda told her that Nova was the enemy. In the present, Alita uses her remaining arm to push herself up and pierce through Grewishka's eye. Before Grewishka could do anything here, Ido and Hugo arrive. They also had some cyborg dogs, who attack Grewishka, due to which, he runs away from here. After this, Ido picks up Alita's body and brings it home. Alita's body was completely destroyed, so Ido had no other way. He reunites Alita with the URM berserker body, which shifts to Alita's subconscious image of herself. The next morning, when she wakes up in her new body, she immediately thanks Ido and shows it off. Finding out that Alita can produce fire on her fingertip, Ido explains how it's generating an arc plasma, but doesn't know how Alita can control it. Ido then reminds her that her body is merely a shell, and it's up to Alita on how she uses it. Alita soon walks with Hugo to show off her body's new features. After noting that she's a lot more touch sensitive, Hugo makes Alita close her eyes as he leans to kiss her. On the other hand, Nova, still in Vector's body, commands Grewishka to destroy Alita. He notes that she's the last of the finest weapons of the technarchy, so Nova wants Alita's heart. Hating how Nova takes control of his body, Vector decides to formulate his own plan. He invites Hugo for a drink and compliments his drive. Hugo assures that he's working hard to get Vector 1,000,000 credits to send him to Zalem, but Vector is interested in discussing Alita. The next day, Alita visits Hugo. He confesses that after meeting her, he's reconsidering leaving for Zalem. However, Alita won't let Hugo abandon his dream, so she insists on helping Hugo collect money. Alita even offers her heart, adding that they can just find a cheap replacement for her. Hugo refuses, not wanting Alita to give herself away for him. Here, Hugo suggests that Alita should join Motorball and become a champion. After this, Alita gets ready for the game, while Ido adds safety gears on her since he doesn't know how to fix technology. Unknown to them, Vector has employed the help of hunter warriors to kill Alita while playing Motorball. Meanwhile, Hugo calls out to Tanji, who's currently stealing parts from a cyborg. He meets Tanji and says, "Now I want to leave this job." Tanji says, "I know you are doing all this for that girl Alita." Hearing this, Hugo slams him on the wall. Friends start fighting with each other, but then Zappen comes here, seeing which they stop. Zappen is very happy to see Hugo, because he knew that Hugo is the same boy Alita is in love with. That's why he wants to kill her. But Hugo says here, "You can't kill me, because there is no bounty on me." But Zappen kills Tanji's victim here, and frames it on Hugo, because of which, he becomes a target. Tanji tries to defend Hugo, but Zappen quickly slices Tanji in half. Hugo throws fiery ammunition at Zappen and escapes. On the other hand, in Stadium, Ido notices that the players aren't challengers but hunter warriors. Seeing Alita enter the game's field, Vector is glad that Hugo brought her right to them. Before Motorball starts, Ido warns Alita that her opponents are out to kill her. Though outmatched, she still decides that she can take them all. As the ball is launched, Alita rushes for it while her opponents immediately jump her. Alita clutches the ball and uses it to hit an opponent, successfully sending them flying back and hitting the other cyborgs. While the crowd cheers, Alita continues to hit her opponents with the ball, even beheading one. As the game progresses into a battle, Alita throws the ball onto an enemy and faces off against the others. Despite Alita's smaller stature, she flawlessly defeats a bigger opponent. Amidst the battle, Hugo calls Alita for help against Zappen, so she leaves to save him. The hunter warriors continue to pursue her out of the arena. When two hunter warriors catch her, Alita pulls an enemy to get sliced by another, then rigs the chains to crush the last opponent into a grinder. Other side, Zappen catches up to Hugo, but Alita kicks him off. However, Alita sees Hugo on a bounty sign, hinting that he's wanted for murder. Hugo confesses that he jacked cyborgs for parts, but asserts that he never killed anyone. Alita still chooses to protect Hugo, and slams Zappen on the wall. When Zappen reminds her that she's violating the hunter warrior code by stopping him, Alita claims the kill instead. Alita approaches Hugo, but she hesitates, so Zappen stabs him. Centurions arrive to collect the bounty, so Alita runs with Hugo's dying body. Alita hopes to bring him to Ido, but Hugo reminds her that Centurions will kill them both if she does. Hugo confesses that he tore cyborgs apart, though he assures her that he wanted to quit because he loves her. Chiron finds the two, but when Vector calls her, she tells him that they're gone. When Alita goes outside, she presents Hugo's head. However, Zappen realizes that Hugo's head is attached to Alita's body, keeping him alive. Zappen tries to take Hugo, but the Centurions mistake this as him stealing another's bounty, allowing Alita to take his sword and slice his face. The next day, Ido attached Hugo's head to a cyborg body with Chiron's help. Ido reveals that the only way to get to Zalem is by becoming a Motorball champion, so Hugo couldn't have bought his way up there, despite Vector's claims. When Alita asks how he knows, Ido confesses that he was born in Zalem, but Nova exiled his family, because of their daughter's illness. Other side, Vector questions why Chiron let Alita go. Chiron contends that she's a doctor and a mother, so she quits her partnership with him. Hearing this, Vector tempts her to go to Zalem, but Chiron realizes that what she wants isn't there. As she walks away, however, something blocks her path. On the other hand, Alita leaves to confront Vector. When Centurions demand her surrender her weapon, she uses Zappen's blade to slice at them easily. She soon drops into Vector's office, confronting him about his lies to Hugo. Vector defends that he keeps his promise of sending people up, so he shows Chiron's dismembered body parts which he's sending Nova, as it's the only way to get to Zalem. But suddenly, Grewishka arrives and hits Alita. While in pain, Alita sees a glimpse of when she fought against Zalem. A barrier wiped out her team on the tube that connected Zalem to Iron City. When she almost fell, Gelda held onto her, reminding her to finish the mission and destroy Zalem. Alita's body regenerates from Grewishka's attack. Grewishka strikes her again, but Alita slices his grind cutters, then cuts his body in half. Vector then pleads for his life, but she calls for Nova instead, who talks through Vector's body again. Nova tells Alita that she has exceeded his expectations, so he won't stop her for now. Alita asserts that she doesn't need his permission to live, but Nova implies that others might. He notes that they can track Hugo down, adding that he enjoys immortality by watching others die. Angrily, Alita kills Vector's body. But suddenly, Ido calls Alita and tells her that the hunter warriors want to kill Hugo, so he is going to Zalem to keep himself safe. On hearing this, Alita quickly follows him. Soon, Alita finds him on the tubes that connect the cities. She tries to stop him, but Hugo argues that he'll die if he stays in Iron City, because there's a bounty on him. Alita insists that this is exactly where Nova wants him to be to get to her. Hugo points out that they'll always be running if she stays with him, but Alita asserts that at least they'll be together. Just when Hugo reconsiders, Nova deploys the barrier. Hugo ends up getting sliced and tumbles down the tube. Alita reaches for him, but his cyborg body starts falling apart. Hugo thanks Alita for saving him just before he falls, while Alita could only scream in despair. Few months pass, and Alita is now a contender in the Motorball Champions League. Despite a chance to go to Zalem, she's still grieving her loss. As she steps into the arena, all eyes are on her, including Nova's. And the movie ends here. Thanks for watching.